Hey guys, today I want to talk about the death of the petrodollar. More when I return on the Eric McNeil Be Free Show.
Black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Hey guys, welcome. You've just discovered the Eric McNeil Be Free Show, where it's all about being financially independent, responsible for self, enjoying life, and empowering others free. So today, I want to talk to you about the death of the petrodollar. And what sparked this was that if you follow me on Facebook, you know I put a post out about my friend trying to send a wire transfer to China, right? And basically, it's taking them almost a month and a half, and the Chinese vendor has not received the wire transfer. So, and so we escalated this to the bank, and I said, that I would not name the bank, but we escalated it to the bank today with management. But I started to think, and if you have sent an international wire transfer, then you know that they use a system called SWIFT, right? And the SWIFT system actually stands for, let me read it, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. That's the system. And that system is based on the US dollar, or as commonly referred to as the petrodollar. So if you're trying to send monies from one country to another country, then you have to go through this SWIFT system if you're sending this via a bank wire transfer. And so if you're in Ghana and your currency here, the currency here is cities, then basically you send the cities, and the cities go and they're converted to US dollars, and from the US dollars they're converted to the receiving currency. In this case it's the yuan, Chinese renminbi, or the yuan. So at any rate, if you've been following the war with Russia and Ukraine, and the US trying to put sanctions, well, one of the things you always hear them talk about now is they're going to block access to the SWIFT system from the country that they want to put under sanction, right? They say, oh, we're going to take away their SWIFT access, because when they take away your SWIFT access, you can't receive your dollars, right? And then you can't spend your dollars. So if you're a country like Russia, and let's say, you have all these billions, and, in the case of some, China, trillions invested in US dollars. And then if you get into conflict with the US and they say, oh, we're going to cut your SWIFT access off, that means the bank cannot receive or send monies in US dollars, so this is why it's the bridge currency, it's the world reserve currency, right? And so this is what we have playing out today. When you see all this chaos going on and all this foolishness going on, what you have is people, countries, essentially at the heart of the matter, they are rebelling against the US dollar, or aka the petrodollar. Now, in the past, what has happened when countries have tried to rebel against the US dollar, right? The US dollar, because it's not really backed any longer by gold, is backed by just a threat, and it's backed by oil. So basically, if any country wanted oil, because all countries need oil, so if you need to buy oil, you have to do it in U.S. currency. You have to do it, you have to settle it in U.S. dollars. So this forces countries to go out and store, dollars in their central bank, right? Because they have to buy oil in U.S. dollars. And this is how they have protected the value of the U.S. dollar. So basically, let's take China. China says, China is now, I think, the biggest user of oil. So when they need, traditionally, in the past, when they have needed to buy oil, then they had to do it in U.S. dollars. Well, how would China get U.S. dollars? Well, they have to build some products, and then they have to sell those products cheaply to the United States so that they can get the dollars. And then with those dollars, they can go to Saudi Arabia, wherever, and buy their oil. You see how that works? So this is how it has happened over the years, whether you were China or whether you were, whatever country, right? And countries in Africa, you always have to have, they have to have some percentage of their funds locked up and stored away in U.S. dollars, because that's the only way they can get oil, right? So at any rate, a lot of countries who have said no, they're going to rebel against this system. Let's take Gaddafi. That was a perfect scenario. You had Gaddafi said that he was going to establish a new currency, African-based currency, and Libya would back it, right? You remember that? And it led to, I guess this, when y'all's guy, Barack and Hillary was there, and they decided to bomb Gaddafi and Libya and end up killing him. It was to protect the petrodollar, right? Because they didn't want him dealing, he was like, hey, we're going to sell y'all oil, and it don't have to be in the U.S. dollar. We can sell it, in something else. We're going to establish our own currency, So, they were trying to create a dinar, that was kind of an African currency, and they was trying to create an African bank, kind of a central bank that was African based. And that didn't work out too well for Gaddafi. And even before that, it was Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein decided that he was going to sell oil to people for currencies other than the U.S. dollar, right? Say he'll take euros, He started telling countries, I'll take euros. You don't have to use no U.S. dollar. And so the U.S. was like, oh, really? So, that led to an invasion, of Iraq. You can see how that turned out. I think Gaddafi wind up, being beheaded. And, so it didn't turn out too well. Let's see, and then you have, I guess the latest was Venezuela. Venezuela has, like the largest oil reserve in the world. And they said, hey, we open for business to the world. We start selling this oil for currencies, again, other than the U.S. dollar. Wrong answer, right? They got their sanctions, and stuff started, to go awry with Venezuela. So you have this group of countries called the BRICS countries, and BRICS. And the BRICS nations basically are the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So they form kind of a pact, and for the longest they have been trying to create a new world order, if you will, a new paradigm shift, whereby they collaborate with one another outside of the US dollar, where they can trade with one another. So they're like, hey, we buy products from your country, I buy products from you. I'm South Africa, I buy products from China. Why do I need to hold US dollar? Just to go, and because I'm ultimately buying the product from China, so wouldn't it be wiser for me to hold the Chinese yuan? You know, if I'm buying the product. So, so this is where a lot of the problems that we see that are happening now is we're essentially watching unfold before our very eyes the death of the petrodollar. And it's playing out in various ways. We're seeing this play out right before our eyes. And I have a chart that I'm going to put up here. And this chart basically shows you the world reserve currencies since 1450. And this will kind of bring to light, you know, what I'm talking about when I say we're watching the death of the petrodollar in real time. So on this chart, it shows at the bottom, if you look at the bottom, the first global world reserve currency that's shown is Portugal. And it shows how long it lasted. That remained a world reserve currency for some 80 years, right? From 1450 to 1530. Then it was replaced by Spain's currency, which then became the global reserve currency, the world reserve currency. And Spain currency remained at the top for 110 years, which was then replaced by Netherlands currency, which remained the world reserve currency for approximately 80 years. And then it was replaced by France's currency, which remained the world reserve currency for 95 years. And that one was replaced by Britain's currency, which remained the world reserve currency for 105 years. So when we look at this chart, we can basically say that the average of all of these is approximately 100 years that a world reserve currency will remain the king of the hill, so to speak. So now, if we know that the average lifespan of a world reserve currency is 100 years, then, well, let's go to the newest kid on the block, which is the United States currency, which is the US dollar, aka the petrodollar. And we look and see that it has been the world reserve currency since about 1921, right? About 1921. 2021. Now, we are currently in 2022. 2022, guys. So, do the math. 2022 minus 1921 gives you a total of how many years? Yeah, 101 years. So the United States dollar, aka the petrodollar, has been the world reserve currency for 101 years. And the average lifespan of a world reserve currency is 100 years, guys. The longest span on this chart is 110 years. So when you look at everything that's going on, and you sit back and think and understand why we're going through all of this chaos, well, look at the world reserve currency. It's being changed. The game is over, right? So they're about to drop this thing and start something new, right? It can't go too much longer. So we're witnessing the fall of the U.S. dollar, because now, about some years ago, when the Chinese understood and Russia understood, how vulnerable they were in this whole SWIFT system, because they had watched other countries come under sanctions where their SWIFT codes were removed by the United States, and therefore they started to build replacement technology so that they could bypass the SWIFT system and use their own system. So both Russia and China have replacement money transfer systems where they no longer have to go through the SWIFT system. So what you have now are the BRICS nations who are not as small as, let's say, Iraq, right? Or Libya, right? It was easy to just say, oh, I'm gonna just go bomb Libya, they getting out of order. But it's not so easy to do that with China. It's not so easy to do that with Russia. So it's a totally different ball game. So, so there's another chart I want to show you, which is the U.S. debt clock. The U.S. debt clock. And when you look at this clock and the amount of debt that's being racked up, then it makes you understand why they're just going to let the system kind of implode and replace it with something else. It's because there's so much debt that builds up over time. And it's almost like a big Ponzi scheme. They can never pay the debt back. So what they do is they just collapse the currency. And it's all good. They just destroy the currency. And so at this point, if you look at the national debt by itself, if you look at the clock here, it says it's over $30 trillion. Do you think that they can pay that back, guys? But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there, guys. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You hear people talking about the national debt, it's 30 trillion. Well, that's not the whole picture. Because if you go further through this, you go a little further down, you see U.S. total debt is 91.5 trillion. 91.5 trillion. Because there's a lot of other, but it doesn't stop there. right? That's not the whole picture, guys. You look at the bottom here. Go on the bottom, at the bottom of this chart toward the right-hand corner. U.S. unfunded liabilities. $170 trillion. $170 trillion in U.S. unfunded liabilities. See, those are all commitments that have to be paid. You can try and dress it up like it ain't a debt, but it's still a debt, brother. You best believe that. You call it whatever you want to. You call it liability, you call it debt, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, it amounts to the same thing. 170 trillion in unfunded liabilities, 91 trillion in total U.S. debt. Now, I wish I could say it stopped there, guys, but it doesn't stop there. It doesn't. I want to bring your attention to where it says currency and credit derivatives. Now, and that is 606 trillion. 606 trillion, right? Buddy. So, well, exactly, it's responsible for that. Well, that's money, derivatives and credit that the banks are responsible. And the last time the banks got in trouble, they were too big to fail. So these, the banks get in trouble with all these derivatives and gambling that they're doing, well, they're going to be bailed out. And they said, well, we're not going to bail out the banks. Well, what you going to do? We're not going to have any bailout. We're going to have bail-ins. Bail-ins? Well, what is a bail-in? A bail-in means that when the banks get in trouble, instead of the government bailing them out, the depositors of the bank is going to have to bail them out. So they're going to use, boy, y'all don't hear me. They're going to use your money that you have deposited in the bank to bail out the bank. The bank has right to use your money to bail themselves out. Do you see? So when the shit hit the fan, your money is in the bank, they can use it to bail themselves out, right? So this is a very, very, very precarious position you're in, and you're watching unfold. This is where there's so many problems. They're getting ready to crash the system, guys, because they can't pay this debt. So they just have to crash this whole system. So essentially, for those in the West, and especially in the United States, you're a part of a bankruptcy. The bankruptcy is a company called the United States of America. It's going through a bankruptcy restructuring, and they're going to wipe the debt clean. And when they wipe the debt clean, that means those people with monies in the system are going to lose it all. That means that you depending on Social Security, poof, forget it. You depending on pension from these companies, you can forget it. You depending on IRA, 401k, whatever your retirement plan is, it's highly unlikely that you're going to receive it all. You may not, it's just going to slice through it. Just slice through it like a knife, hot knife slicing through butter. That's how they're going to slice through your retirement account. And you'd be lucky if you even get half of it. I have told you, between now and 2030, expect anything, because the whole system is being overhauled. And during that time, man, they basically stealing money. You see, you recall, if you recall, not too long ago, and I've been saying this for some years, and people ignored me. But I said the system was going to crash, and the economy would go into a recession or a depression, something that might look like the 1930s Great Depression, and people laughed. They wouldn't even acknowledge that the economy was in trouble. People say, well, Eric, how can you say that the economy is going to do this, and Obama fixed all of that when he was in office? I said, no, Obama did not fix that. I say, if you think about it, if you are a business person, you have credit and you're in trouble, well, you can go out and you can get a loan. If you have debt, you can go out and you can get a loan if you got like grade A credit. Does that fix your problem? No, that does not necessarily fix your problem. It may delay the inevitable, but it doesn't fix your problem. It just pushes the can down the road. And I said, this is what Obama did. He didn't fix any problems. He pushed the can down the road, right? Let's not get it twisted. Hey, Obama fixed it. Did. That's what you think. Wait on it. Now, but even after that, a lot of people still wouldn't acknowledge that the economy was going to get as bad as it has gotten. They say, well, it ain't gonna get bad. And even all the talking heads, all the talking heads on TV, misleading people, have you all on everything except what you need to be on. And at first they start talking about, the economy's not at risk of recession. There's not going to be any inflation. No inflation, and they just denying it all the way around. Then when they finally started to acknowledge it, they just said, it's just transitory. You heard all of them talking, the whole news media. Like they just gave them the script. It's just transitory. This is inflation, just transitory. Yeah, all your Fed and all these talking heads. And then when they couldn't really deny it any longer, say it was just something temporary, transitory, then they said, well, it ain't a bad thing. It ain't a bad thing. It ain't. So they just leading you from one lie to the next lie, from one lie to the next lie. And you listening to these people on the news media and these financial shows. Jim Cramer, the economy is good, the economy is strong. He told you that lie leading up to the 2008 crash. Everything is strong, everything is good, you don't have to worry. And the next thing you know, the whole system falling apart, and it's the retail investors that's getting screwed, and the professionals, they out. They done got their money gone and left you holding the bag. I'm telling you, they're getting ready to do you. They're getting ready to screw you royally. I'm telling you now. And people think, I hear people, what can we do to make sure we don't get caught this time? I'm telling you. It's like, when you diversify, we're going to gold, going to silver, we're going to this, going to that. All of it's going down. This, you getting ready to see something like you've never seen before. Everything is going to burst. There ain't going to be no safe hiding places. Gold is going to go down. Silver is going to go down. Right? Stock market is going to go down. Cryptocurrency is going to go down. There's not going to be anywhere you can hide, right? So people, that's why, I'm telling you, if you have real estate, and I know these real estate prices are through the roof and you're tempted to sell your real estate because of these high real estate prices, and I've seen people on the internet discussing this, like, ooh, I'm just wondering if I should sell my house or I should sell this. And I'm telling people, don't do it. Because if you're not an expert investor and you don't know, because basically you're going to sell and you still going to have to go out and buy something else. So if you really don't already know, an expert investor know exactly how to play this, but you, I wouldn't sell. I wouldn't sell. I would keep my real estate, because you're going to end up losing it all. Trust me, I know. Real estate, that's what they call it, real. It is real, right? It ain't no imaginary paper money. It's real. Okay, so keep your real estate. Then for those of you who have the funny money in the bank, oh, don't leave your money in the bank. You say, well, it's insured. It's insured. Okay, it can be insured. It can be insured. But if the money supply is being inflated and we go into hyperinflation, it doesn't matter if it's insured for $250,000 or whatever. It's not worth anything at some point. It's not worth anything. And you go, be like the Weimar Republic or Zimbabwe, when they experience hyperinflation and they end up carrying, and even Venezuela, you end up carrying wheelbarrows of money, and it's no good for, it's not good for anything but to use, to make a fire with, to burn, or give to the children and let them play with it. This is where we're headed. So I'm saying, take the money and buy you some real property. And this is partially what's motivated us to do migrating culture crossing, because I saw a lot of people who were about to get taken and they didn't know what to do with their money, couldn't understand, okay, so I said, okay, we can't promise you a return on your money, but what we can do is we can promise you a house. So at the end of the day, you take your money and we understand how to make it hold its value to get you a house out of it. So you have some real property at the end of the day. Right? You have some real property. And then, with our half-price home promo, it just sweetens the pot. So I'm telling you, I'm not trying to be any financial advisor. I'm not trying to tell you I have a crystal ball as to how all of this is going to play out. But I'm giving you an option. Migrating culture crossing, right? I don't know when this whole flip the switch moment is coming that even, we aren't able to take that kind of risk anymore, because at a certain point when the inflation keeps going up, we can't take the risk anymore. Right now we can take the risk because we understand the market and we understand what's happening, and we're weighing the cost versus how much the money is worth and the increase in the materials and everything. So we can take the risk right now, but I don't know how long that's going to be viable for us to do that. But right now, you can take this play money and you can invest in a house at Migrating Culture Crossing, and we're saying we'll back up your investment, your money, we'll back it up with a house and say, hey, we'll build you a house. Boom, here's the model, whatever. If you have cryptocurrency, and we're saying, okay, we'll take your cryptocurrency and we'll build you a house. But at some point, everything goes to the ground. And man, it's becoming so unpredictable now, right? You saw not too long ago, maybe a year or whatever, oil prices, first when the oil prices was real low, I guess they really got y'all back on that one, didn't they? Because at one point, oil prices was through the ground, right? And y'all was like, whoa, these gas prices cheap. But oil prices went below zero. The derivatives market. And this is how they're manipulating the markets. They are catching these companies that are over leveraged, and they're driving them bankrupt. Yes, they're liquidating them. And so if you were playing the oil markets and derivatives, and you were seeing that these low prices, and you was like, oh, well, I'm gonna catch this oil, I'm gonna catch this price on the dip. It's gonna go down maybe to $20 a barrel. I'm gonna catch it on the dip, and I'm gonna ride it back up a little bit. And what they did is they say, oh, really? So they manipulated the market so it didn't just dip; it went below zero. So that was if you were playing it. About the safest you can play it is to say, well, it may go down to $1. I'm gonna catch it at $1. I can't get liquidated if I make sure my bid can cover it down to $1. And they showed you you were wrong. You were able to get liquidated because they sent it to a price that nobody could have guessed. Zero. Below zero. Below zero. Come on. So this is how they're manipulating the markets, guys. And they're just taking people's money. And it's awfully sad to, and especially, in other markets too, the cryptocurrency market. Man, they just taking retail investors' money out the cryptocurrency market like it ain't nothing. Just liquidation, because people start looking at it and think they're going to make some fast money and start leveraging. And, hey, I'm going to do a 5X, I'm going to do a 20X, I'm going to do a 50X, I'm going to do a 100X leverage. And they move the market and take your money just like that. Guys, you got to really know what you're doing in this game. And if you don't, you're going to lose your money. And this is why I'm saying, take that money and put it into some real property, some real estate, right? If you don't buy a piece of real estate at Migrating Coach Crossing, buy some real estate somewhere. Maybe you don't want to come to Africa. Maybe you don't want to stay in our community or invest in our community. But I'm telling you, take that money and if you already have like a primary residence and you have money sitting in the bank and stuff like that, and you say, well, I got my primary residence. Okay, well, use the monies to make yourself more self-sufficient. Like, take the money and buy you some solar. Drill you a well, a borehole, as we call it here, a well. Invest it in your primary residence to make it more self-sufficient, so that when shit hit the fan, at least you don't have to be paying no electricity bill, because electricity company may not even be working at some point. Might go down, the grid might go down. You don't have to worry about the grid going down. You have your solar, right? And of course, if you have this, then depending on, what kind of neighborhood you in, you might have to invest in you some security, some ammunition, guns, whatever, that because people be looking at you like, you got electricity over there, you got water over there, you done stored some food up there. I hope you're not telling people you storing food up, but get you a food cellar, maybe build you a food cellar. Don't tell your neighbors now. Don't tell your neighbors, okay? But anyway, you got to be able to protect this stuff, guys. So at any rate, that's all I wanted to talk to you today about. Is this is where you see all this chaos. This is the death of the petrodollar happening, guys. They about to replace this joint. They about to replace that joint, and a lot of people think the Bitcoin is going to replace the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, and I'm telling people, no, I don't think so. I'm gonna try and get some light here, guys. It's getting kind of dark. The sun is going down, so let me try to bring in little lights. Okay, I think that's better, guys. Let's turn on the light. But at any rate, I don't believe that Bitcoin is going to be the next world reserve currency, okay? However, I do believe it will be digital currencies, right? I believe Bitcoin is more or less a pilot, and I believe Bitcoin will continue to go up after it tanks. I believe, at some point it'll have a major crash, but, it'll still hold some value. But I think at some point they'll kill it when the final system is in place. So, and I think, you'll be looking at like these central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, they will kind of be the emphasis, and then you have bridge currencies in between these CBDCs. And what that will do is it will give the banks a currency so that you are unable, to hold physical cash. So you won't be able to do no bank run. A bank run is when everybody figure out that they're being scammed by the banks, and then they all want to go to the bank and withdraw their monies at the same time. It's a bank run. CBDCs will prevent that, right? It's all digital, so you won't be able to bank run, do a bank run. But yeah, so I believe that, the death of the petrodollar is close at hand. And I believe, they're phasing it out. And that's why we're seeing all of this chaos and things going amok. And if you have monies in the bank, if you have pension fund, you have IRA, you have 401ks, you have savings, whatever, I believe that they're at great risk. And those people who understand this are ones making moves to take that play money and buy something real, like a real estate with it. So, like I said, if you don't look at, you're not looking at migrating culture, look somewhere. Do something with it, guys. Go get you some land somewhere, get your house or whatever. But at any rate, if you like what we're talking about, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment. Let me know what you think. And, of course, hit our website, www.migratingculturecrossing.com, and take advantage of our half-price home promo, which allows you to buy any of our floor plans at half price, right? As long as you pay up front and you're willing to wait 3 years for delivery. Now, be advised that our least expensive model has been sold out, which is the Sankofa Duplex Studio. It's been sold out, so you can still get, we have 5 plans, but one of them, the least expensive, has been sold out, so there's still 4 that you can buy. So check them out on our website. And you can also follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/Eric McNeil is free. And as always, hoorah, ahuru, now be free.